Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on intercooler piping. Let's get started. Oh yeah. For those of you who are just now tuning into the channel, this is my 1981/2007/2010 Chevy C20 pickup truck. Over the past several months, I've been swapping in this LBZ Duramax engine and Allison transmission out of a late model truck. So if you want to see that, check out the video series. I have like 9 or 10, maybe this is the 10th, I'm not sure. In one of my previous videos, I said I had a goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And as of this morning, we are at 494, which is almost halfway. So thanks everyone for supporting my tiny channel. All right, we got work to do, so let's get started. Okay, so like I said earlier, we are working on intercooler piping today. So I need to get the turbo outlet connected to the intercooler inlet. And I do have the stock cooler tube, and I'll show you here in a second, that I attempted to make fit, but with the way that the power steering pump, well, not the power steering pump, that's that guy, but the steering box, inlet and outlet, high pressure and low pressure hoses, it's like right into the path, right in the path for that intercooler piping. So I did hack up the stock piece in order to try to sneak it around the backside of those fittings. Get a better view down here. So I came out and snuck it around, and it almost lined back up to where I could use the stock pipe, but it didn't quite work. So I need to find a new solution, which I think I have. All right, so this is what I was talking about, and this is my original plan. I was gonna come out of the turbo using the stock hot side intercooler piping, which I cut right here so that I could swivel this in to line up with the intercooler inlet here with this 90-degree boot. And it just sneaks around these power steering fittings and in between the fan for the radiator. But the problem is, it doesn't quite line up, and I don't want to bend these in order to bring that in. That'll for sure cause a leak. So I want to find a different solution. That, and I think that this is just getting a little too close to the exhaust manifold here, and you know, that may cause some interference issues. So let me show you what I'm thinking. So I went on Amazon and bought some 3-inch intercooler piping. I got a kit. It has some 90s, some 45s, and some straight sections with the band clamps and all of the silicone boots. At the inlet of the intercooler, I have a 90-degree boot coming up into this 90-degree section here, which actually kind of looks pretty good coming up. It's in line with the radiator hose right here. So that's visually appealing. You know, maybe that's your thing, maybe it isn't, I don't know, it's up to you. But I like things for, you know, to kind of look good. So coming out of the turbo, it's actually 2.5-inch pipe. And right before the intercooler inlet, GM steps it up to the 3-inch. So my plan is to cut the stock tube here, because I have to be able to get underneath this brake booster. And it's going to be a very, very tight fit, but I think that it's going to work. I kind of test fit a different brake booster that has similar dimensions, and it worked just fine. So if I can sneak underneath that, kind of come in there with this piece with a silicone boot here, kind of angle it over like that, I can cut this piece back here and then grab this 45 section. And if you look, like, I know it's kind of hard to visualize with all these pieces in here right now, but that angle looks like it's going to match up pretty close with this fitting here. Let's cut a bunch of stuff and see if we can make this work. All right, let's get this on there and see what that's going to look like. Alrighty. May have to take a little bit out of this guy just to bring that up some. So maybe about 3/4 of an inch. So that'll get this kind of on this plane right here, even with this guy. So we don't have to angle it down. It can be straight up and down. Eyeball it with my calibrated eye. About that much out of it. All right, let's see how that looks. Looking pretty good. Let's go with that. All right, I'm gonna tape these together. I probably should mark that, how it's gonna be clocked. You ever wish you had like a third arm? Just gonna put a mark here. We're gonna clock those together so I can tape it. All right. All right, I have you guys way up in the sky, kind of a bird's eye view looking down, because I wanted to be able to show you kind of how critical this cut's gonna be. So you can see, here's the 45-degree angle that we need to make. And we wanna make sure that this end lines up with this end, but if you do it like this end doesn't match up. And if you do it like this, obviously this end doesn't match up. So we're gonna have to make a cut on both sides. So we gotta figure out exactly where that cut needs to be. So, just trying to line up my tubes here. It looks like that is gonna be it with the curve right here. So let me get my paint marker. I'm just gonna kind of eyeball this. And remember, you can always take away, but it's a lot harder to put back. So make a mark there. And the marks on these two tubes have to just line up with a little bit of space in between them. So let's go right about here on this bottom tube because it's out of the bend. And we'll give ourselves an inch or so on this tube. All right. Hopefully that's right. I have one more 45, so I get 2 chances. I am way overdue for a new blade. This thing is super duper dull. I like to put tape on the tube whenever I cut it. It serves as a pretty good guide to make sure you're cutting straight. Okay, here we go. Wait, I just gotta clean it up. Okay, so I got my cuts made on my 90-degree piece and my 45-degree piece. And I just kind of have it taped together here just to hold it in place. So now I just need to take a measurement of this difference here so I can cut it out of the bottom of this 90-degree and get that on the same level. See, and this is gonna come up a little bit. So we'll say about 1.5 inches. So when you take 1.5 inches out of the bottom of this 90, almost there. All right, check it out. So it's kind of just mocked into place right now, but everything is good. I think it looks really clean. Unfortunately, I don't have a 2.5 inch silicone coupler, so I'm gonna have to order one of those. But the tape will do for now. So there is one more step that we need to do, which is putting a bead in the end of each one of these tubes. I'm not exactly sure how much boost these engines run stock, maybe somewhere around 40 or so. But with this 3-inch tube, there's enough surface area that, 40 pounds of boost will blow these apart. And like you can see how easily, well, maybe not with one hand. Oh, come on. Okay, well this was supposed to be a lot easier than it is right now. Anyway, like I was saying, these joints would slip apart very easily, even with the clamps on it under boost, without having a bead rolled in the end of these tubes. So let's go do that real quick. So I'm using this bench-mounted bead roller to roll the beads in these tubes. Pretty easy to use. You just throw your tube in there, get it snug but not too tight, and just slowly work it around, and you'll see the beads start to form. After you go around a couple of times, just give it a quarter turn or so and keep going. Definitely don't want to try to do it all in one go. It puts a lot of stress on the bead roller and on the tube as well. You just kind of want to work it slow. All right, there you go. Nice little bead on there. All right, so the intercooler piping on the driver's side is complete. One thing of note though is I haven't got the brake master cylinder in yet. It's gonna be a couple more days until it gets here, but it is gonna be very close to this clamp here, so I may have to rotate this clamp one way or another in order to clear the master cylinder. So we'll see when that thing gets here. But also, one pretty cool thing is that on the passenger side, everything already lined up. So I just had a 90-degree boot that came off of the, this is a stock intercooler. And this is the stock elbow coming off of the intake here. So just one like 6-inch section of 3-inch tube and some clamps, and that's it. Still need to put a clamp right there though. So what is left to do? Yeah, okay. Please don't mind the welding or the bracketry, all right? I only had some scraps laying around and I did my best with what I could do, but hey, I have a coolant expansion tank that's mounted. Very possibly this is just a temporary thing, but anyone who knows anything about this type of work is if it works, sometimes temporary things become permanent. So we'll see. On the expansion tank, I have the 1-inch hose for the actual expansion, and then the steam port up there is going to come around and go here. That's 1/2 inch. I have a couple of 90s and a straight coupler that I'm going to use to pick up this expansion line down here where it comes off of the lower radiator hose. I know it's hard to see down there. So let me get that done real quick, and then we can put some water in this thing. Actually, before we put water in this thing, let's pull a vacuum on the system and check for leaks. Let me show you how we're going to do that. So this is one of my favorite tools to use, and it's called an air vac coolant refiller. So what it does is it uses your compressed air system to draw a vacuum in your coolant system so that you can then suck coolant up through a tube into your expansion tank and then refill your system, which is actually pretty sweet. So real quick, how it works is you open this valve and air flows through this venturi. This creates a vacuum. While that's creating a vacuum, you open this valve, which exposes the coolant system to that vacuum. That sucks all the air out of the coolant system. Once you get down to about 20 inches of mercury or so, or 0.7 bar, you close this valve. Now your vacuum is locked in, and you can open this valve. And this will be in whatever coolant, and then it'll suck it up. And that's it. It's an awesome system. All right, let's suck all the air out of the cooling system. You can see the vacuum starting to come up. I'm gonna go until about 20 inches of mercury. You can kind of see the hoses starting to collapse. That hose is fully collapsed down there. All right, we've drawn down to about 20 inches of mercury and let it sit for a few minutes, and the needle hasn't moved, so that means that our cooling system is airtight, which is awesome. So now we can move on to filling it with water. All right, so I know some of you are probably freaking out right now, like, this is regular tap water, don't put that in your engine, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I know, and you're right, but this is very temporary, and it's gonna be drained and flushed and filled with actual coolant. I just wanna get the system filled so that I could run the engine all the way up to normal operating temperature and make sure everything is good to go. So, like I said, this is very temporary, and it will not stay this way, I promise. All right, suction tube is in. Here we go. I don't know if you can see how fast it's going down, but I'll bring you in here in a second when we do the second jug. I'm shutting the valve before we actually draw in any air, because that'll make our vacuum go away real fast. So we just sucked down almost a gallon of water, and we've only gone from 20 inches of mercury to about 18 inches of mercury. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's swap jugs. All right, I'm gonna open this valve and show you how fast it goes down. It goes pretty quick, doesn't it? That's pretty surprising. All right, let me shut that valve before we suck in any air. All right, I got a good water level in my expansion tank there. So the next thing I need to do is to install the auxiliary battery tray right here, because Duramax engines take 2 batteries. So I have the factory one over there in its factory-ish location. It's actually supposed to mount here and here, and the batteries sit right here, but that's right in the way of the intake, which is going to occupy that space. So I had to take and flip it around this way in order to make that stuff fit. But on this side, we don't have to do anything special. We just put some fasteners through those 2 holes, and I need to drill one more hole down there for the bottom support. So I'm going to do that real fast. All right, got my hole drilled, so get this guy installed. Whoa, never gonna see that again. Uh-oh. Okay, let's try this again without dropping stuff. Gotta be a contortionist to do this. Can't see anything. I'm doing it by feel more than anything else right now. Is that it? No. There we go. Got it, I think. Mostly. Now this truck originally was a 350 truck, so it didn't have the auxiliary battery, but you would think that since it was an option, there'd be riv nuts in here for that, but there isn't. So I wonder if there were on any models, like the ones that came with the old 6.2 diesel. Did those have riv nuts in there? If you know, let me know in the comments. Maybe I can get a different fender. Now for the bottom fastener. Maybe. Aha! Did that do it? Yes. No, maybe. Why can't you just line up? Like, how hard is it? Is that it? Yes. Okay. Done, finally. We'll tighten that up a little bit. Hey guys, it's a couple days later. I've just been so busy with work and everything, I haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to work on the project. But I'm back. So what do we have left to do? So only a couple things left to do. I want to put the intake back on. I got both batteries installed. And I want to get the ECU, TCU, and all this wiring routed back in here and plugged back in so we can turn this guy on and run it all the way up to normal operating temperature to check to see if the cooling system is going to work, at least under idle conditions. May have to hotwire one of those fans to come on as well. So yeah, let's get busy doing that. Let me know if you like those time-lapse videos in the comments. I'll keep doing them. All right, so I have everything hooked up. All the electrical is plugged in. All the wires are all terminated. I have my sweet gas pedal plugged in over here with the code reader. Had to grab a cold snack. Also, the air intake is on, so everything is buttoned up. I still need to figure out exactly how I'm going to mount the TCM and the ECM down here. Probably have to build some pedestals or something, but that is a problem for future Rich. All right, let's start this thing. Have my ignition wire on and all my data looks good. Here we go. Starts right up. Sounds really good. Getting attacked by flying bugs. All right, looking at data, you can see that the desired fuel rail pressure and the actual fuel rail pressure are the same. So that means the fuel pressure regulator is doing its job. Engine coolant temperature is coming up and we have plenty of oil pressure. So I'm gonna let this guy run for a little while until it gets up to temperature, and then we'll see how well the radiator works, at least at idle. You guys want me to give it a couple taps on the throttle? I mean, yeah, right? Here we go. Oh yeah, that sounds awesome. Well, I got it up to operating temperature, but I forgot to install my fan relay, which is just a battery and some jumper cables hot wired to the fan. So let's start it back up and see if the cooling system will keep it cool. Here's my start switch. All right, our coolant is at 174.2. Thermostat's definitely open, so let's plug in the fan. Oh yeah. Fan is doing fan stuff. All right, so the engine's been running for a few minutes now, probably about 5 or 10 minutes, and the temperature has been rock steady at 179.6. So I think at least at idle, the cooling system's doing all right. And of course, I'm only running one of the two fans right now, so once I get the second fan hooked up, it'll be even better. Well, there you have it, guys. Made a ton of progress on this episode. Got the batteries installed, got the intercooler piping done, the coolant system buttoned up, expansion tank on. What else? I think that's about it. Verified that the cooling system works, which is important. So yeah, lots of progress on this episode, and we're getting closer, which is cool. I think next is take it all back apart again, because eventually I'm gonna have to start doing body work. And I keep putting it off, but that's gonna have to happen. But I think I'm gonna put it off a little bit longer and maybe do the fuel system next. Don't think our current fuel system is street legal. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one.